Nagi kẹtẹ sọ pé ẹ̀fẹ́ snagi.
Kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ máa fẹnu sọ́ọ̀rì.
Kíkẹ́ máa fẹnu sọ́ọ̀kà ní òkè òkè.
You are getting there.
We supposed to use Kunle system. Okay. So what do we do the other day? We work on the course. Okay, I want to show you another example. You see how we create multiple courses. Then we've not done student registration.
Yes, sir.
We did course. We had course, but we've not done course registration, right?
Yes,
That is, I have to register for course. All those courses, you have them as a list.
yes.
So that from the list of the course you have, those are from that list, students will choose what to register for. You understand? So I will now have a table that will keep the registry of those courses registered by the student. So where is the project? So here is it not this one? We had the bulk cost, right?
Yeah.
We lead cost. Now I want you to react to this table. If you look at what we have here, this is cost range, right? A cost range have a cost and what? And students. You understand? And then a student will have a list of what? Cost range. So I can have one student and that will now have many courses. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
So let me give you one scenario. I think this is the only one we'll do today. So we can do it in such a way that where is cost? This is cost controller. If you like, you can have all your students there as well. So let's create a DTO for students. If you want to register student, these are the list of what we need. So I have to create a student request, right? Student request. So that student request, let's map it and do at data and paste this guy here. We cancel this. I don't always like to use a private because automatically when you annotate it, it will give it a private. But you now see that anytime you want to add a student, student can register and add all the courses together so that you have everything together. Let me give you one instance. I can say register student. That means if I have endpoint that register student, let's just call it let's say okay, student controller, right?
Yes, sir.
So at rest controller at request mapping, I can say student. I will give it student. So I will auto-wire my this thing and call it app service, right? This one you don't need to ask question here. Do you need to ask question here?
No, sir.
So let's just copy this. I can equally create a student. This is student request. Lad. Okay, now Okay, this is student request, right?
Yes, sir.
Do we have this table? Of course, there should be a date you register the student. You don't have it. You understand? Since there is no, we can equally make this one as student response since it's the same data we are going to get. So if I want to add a student, let's copy this endpoint that lists all students, right?
Okay.
I don't want to use this course. I want to remove all this from it. You understand? Let's say okay. Here, the response is student request. You understand? So if I want to fetch the list of students, I can say students reg. It's got to new what? So new array list. Or instead of saying new array list, I can just say service dot get student reg dot what? Find all. You understand?
Yeah. To come in as
So here I can now say okay.
Sir.
Yes?
Oh, the flashing.
Okay. I can now say that okay, this is the list of students going out. Is equal to new array list, right? You understand? So I can now say for list of student reg, for each of student reg, the same thing with this. So equal to new student, right? We now say load dot set what? Rs dot get load dot set. Do you understand what we're doing? Huh?
Load, yeah. Yes, sir.
Do you understand it?
Yes, sir.
well.
Like we did for.
The previous one.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So we now say ls dot what? Add what? Load. This one must have the same thing as this. This is what we retrieve in database. We are now iterating over it.
Okay.
You understand? So if I want to return anything now, I can now return ls. You understand? This is how to get, we fetch the list of all the students. Though this is not efficient way. Because if we have 20,000 students, we are going to fetch that list and it's going to, yes, we have a way where you paginate it. You fetch based on student and you can search certain students. So if we are to go by this, I want to add student, right? I can ask a post what? Mapping. Add, right? So that I will have a student, I just add, right? I can say at API operation value endpoint for adding new student. You understand? So I can now say okay, public response entity add student. So at request body here,
Yeah.
so the request body here will now be student what?
Done.
Request.
Yeah.
Student request now.
Okay.
What I'm expecting to collect is
Yes.
student request.
Yeah.
So I can put try and catch here. So maybe I can say okay, return error occur, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe I can return
So,
maybe student created successfully, right?
yes, sir.
Student created successfully. So if I now want to add student, all I have to say, I need to instantiate student reg. Yeah? Let me call it load. Is equal to new student what? Reg. So if I say load dot set
Okay.
department, I can now say payload dot get So I'm setting department, I'm getting department from this one. I set it to this one. That is what it means. Load dot set. But I told you that there is more efficient way of doing this.
Yes, sir.
But I just want you to understand this. Get email, right? Load dot set full name. Load dot set what? You don't set the ID because that is auto generated.
Yeah.
Payload dot get phone. So I can now say okay, service dot what? Get student reg dot save what? Load. So that will save the student. You understand that this will save the student. So let's now try and register a student. How do we register student? When you want to register student, what is the requirement? It means that the first thing I can do is I have the student ID
Okay.
and then I have the list of the courses.
That student is all free.
Yes,
So for the register.
Okay, register.
that that student will register. Student want to register for course now. I will now tell you what will now be the request payload. I want to register for course as a student. What do you advise that to be the request payload?
Matric number of the student, ID of the student ID.
The name,
The name of the
I can say okay, course reg request, right?
Yes, sir.
You have matric number of the student, but let's use the ID of the student.
Yes, sir.
Let's use the ID of the student. I can call this one, I can ask a student ID, right? So we should have, student can register for more than one course.
Yeah.
It means that we are going to have the list of the
all
courses. So, and what you're supposed to send is, you're supposed to send the ID of the course. This student ID, did you make it integer or long?
integer.
Hey, this one is supposed to be what?
Mm.
Integer. So what about the course?
For the cost.
First table.
Look at course table. The ID 2 is what? Integer, right? So you now need to send me the list of, you understand? And now say okay, courses. So it's possible that I may decide to say okay, it is the course code I want.
Okay.
So instead of ID, so that when you send me the list of what course code, I can say okay, because I know course code is. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
Do you people get it? I don't know. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
So this is what will now be the request payload. So you send one student, you add the list of all the course code.
So in this student
When
ID,
you are doing all your this thing from the user interface, you just see that you select course, you select this. It's only extract maybe course code or course ID and send it to the API. Because it is the API that supply it with the list of those courses. So when the courses reaches the API will now verify the database, maybe those courses exist. And it will now add it to the what? Course registration table.
in this one, in student ID now, the student ID, all the names, everything has been embedded in it.
Where?
In the student ID,
No.
it will refer to the student.
You will
registration.
see it. You have to first look up for the student first.
Okay.
You will see it. When you receive all this, you need to validate them. Let me quickly do something. Uh,
Bàbá àkáǹtì ẹ ló ti pè mí. Ó ti pè mí.
okay.
Wọ́n lọ wọ́n pé wọ́n ní sáà dẹ̀ máa dìde báwo méjì ní rárá o.
Deliver
Nítorí mo
answer.
ti pé àyà àti Mr. Wọlé ti jọ sọ sọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n ní
Ah,
next
pọ́n
week
kí ni?
kọ́.
a máa deliver àwọn message ká
Eh,
kúrò
wá.
lọ́dọ̀ wọn. So now look at this. This is what you now do. This is what you do under the student. I don't want to repeat try and
Yeah.
reset this. I just want to copy this one and now say okay. Register course. Maybe instead for you can use change this name. Course registration. And I say I can say student course register. So that you are now have student slash course slash register. So my request here will be what? Course reg. I want to show you something. How do you see you supply if you send me the student ID? The first thing I need to do, I used to tell you that when you want to write program, ask yourself what are the validation constraints? What is the payload? What is the method? All those things. So the validation constraint is you have to look up for this student that does this student really exist in the database? That's the first thing you need to do. And that this thing have a method. That JPA repository you extended, it has a method for checking, though I can write it here to find student by what ID, but it has a method called that you can use to find student by ID, and we call it optional. So you just say optional student. This optional is a Java 8. So optional will enable you to test whether what you get is empty or not. Student, I can ask okay service dot get student. Is this student reg? And student reg dot find by. You see we have find by ID. I can ask a payload dot what? Get student ID. I import this. That is what I'm saying. Is this student reg? Is student reg? We now change it to student. Sorry. What we're supposed to do is we're expecting course reg. This one is student reg, not student, because we don't have table student. It is DTO we have as student. We now text if student dot is present, that is if the record exists. But if you now put this not present, you don't you forget this
No,
Thing.
not for
that you forget this thing.
Not.
If
Not.
negative.
It will negate it. So you now say okay, if student does not exist, you understand? All you need to do now return student not found. You understand? That is one. If the student now exists, you understand? You now say student reg is equal to. You now say, this is how you get the student in particular. Or get. So this one will now return the student that is in this optional. Do you get it? Another thing is we supply this guy with a course code. You understand?
Course code, yeah.
List of course.
List of course code. We need to find whether this course code, each of the course code exists. One way is to find whether each of them exists one after the other. So maybe we now write a method on the course code, on the course table. We want to find whether the course exists. You understand? We find by what? Course code. It means that you can say list find by course code. If I pass a course code, yeah. You understand? That is one. Or I can say write a custom query. That's another way to do it. I can say select st from this st is the same thing as select all. But because I'm interacting with
Table.
I mean interacting with Java class. That's why I will call it ST. That is syntax of JPA.
Okay.
And as I select ST from ST, where ST dot course code is the same thing as say select
Select
all
all
from
from
table
table
where the
okay.
course code is equal to.
Okay.
But I'm telling you now that ST mean the name of this table.
Okay. Okay.
It just means I say okay select all from table where table dot course code
Okay. Okay.
where course code table dot you understand. But this is the identifier and this is what we will mostly use.
Okay.
Do you get it?
Yes,
Sir.
This is a JPA query.
So in this case now, in this very case, we must use ST because we have used ST before in our.
If you use say D, change this one to what? D. That is what is comfortable for me.
Okay.
Just give it any name. You can give it any name. I can say RS and you come here say RS where RS does course code is equal to what? Let me teach you something. You can say is equal to course is equal to look at this one code. I'm teaching you different way now. And I say okay this course table I can now say list give it any name list by code right at param let me now tell you something this code just I click this is what we're supposed to use this is what we're supposed to use mind take note of this. So what this one will do is to select where the course code is equal to this name must be equal to.
The code in param.
Do you get it? I'm still going to teach you queries specially. You understand? This code must be equal to what you have what here. So do you know what we call in operator?
In.
Have you used in operator in your SQL query where you say select ID from where ID in?
Yeah.
Another way you can do is this. I can say list or I will now say okay this is course code abi. I can now pass list of what code. I can now say where's course code in shey you used to do in you put semicolon I mean you put maybe in 1 2 3 instead of that in code this code we transform it into that. Do you people get it?
Yes.
That's another one. So we have three query now. You see that we make use of this or we make use of this one work the same way as this or we but this one make a single call. But for every course code we want to verify we need to make a call for this one. So I will just say okay let's go by this.
Yeah.
I want to check if the course really what exists, right?
Yes, sir.
I will now say okay. Courses is equal to service dot what get course table dot list what list of. You know this list or take list of course code so that I can say payload dot what get course. So I've gotten all the course now. I can ask okay if courses dot is empty that is only when you supply me all there is no course I can still return message that okay course record not what fine. So I did validation for what student and for course Then I will now save.
You save, okay.
If I want to save, this is the list of costs, right?
Yes,
And look at cost reg.
sir.
Look at cost curve. What does it take? Cost table and what?
Student rate.
Student reg. Okay, I know what I will do. It's like, let's keep this one aside.
Okay.
You understand? Let's keep this one aside. Let's do one-to-one cost registration. I know you understand it there. So that tomorrow we'll do this one. We'll complete this one. Single cost what? Reg. Right? Single cost reg will take what? What will it take? If I want to register a single
ID
cost,
and
ID, student ID,
Mhm.
and that cost
long
code.
student ID, and then it will take some what?
Cost code.
Or let me use long course ID.
Okay.
You understand? So that you understand that. If you don't want to
The
verify,
ID is in
okay, integer, yes. Both ID are
Yes.
integer, right? This time around, we will not validate. We'll just save it directly. Don't check whether the student resisted.
Sir, is there a way that we can validate if the student has not chosen any course?
We are coming to that. You see, if I bring you to that and you will now scatter, it will scatter what you, because I noticed that when I'm taking you through here,
We won't feel it. On register.
it is part of what you still need to check whether. So now, if I want to look at it, if I want to do this, right, I can now say, where is that cost reg?
Baba, mo mo lè check income tó bá ti process fún yàn. Orí wọn bí lọ nípa ọmọ ṣìlẹ̀ sí.
Remember?
Ẹ lọ kéèké check
Má
that.
dá fídíò yìí jẹ́ àwọn ọ̀dà.
Bàbá ẹ kọ́ flash ẹ̀mí kan ẹ̀ lójú fún lọ.
Gbogbo oúnjẹ. Ǹjẹ́
So you now say cost reg is equal to what? New cost reg, right? There is something I want you to know that. I say cost dot set what? Cost ID. You know it takes what? Cost table. I can now say new cost table. You know cost table has a constructor that takes ID.
Okay.
You don't get it. If you go to, don't say okay. If you go to cost table class, that is the essence of constructor. This is a class. It has constructor without what? Argument. It has constructor with what? Argument. You understand?
Yes, sir.
If a code already exists, you can do it like this. And I say payload dot what? Get course ID. Reg dot what? Test student ID, right?
Yes, sir.
I can say new what? Student reg. I can say payload dot get student ID, right? And I say reg dot set date created. The new what? Date. So if I do that, I can just say service dot get course reg, right? Dot what? Save what? Reg. So it will save the registration for me. I can return response entity dot okay course created. Do you get this one?
Yes, sir.
You understand this one? We will do that one tomorrow.
Let's stop here. How many minutes have you said that? Ṣé wàá jí bẹ̀rẹ̀? Yeah, I said it.
Maybe it's not even recording
Yeah.
itself.